2018. On Fridays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, please join me for my radio talk show, The Outlander, where I answer your emails, take your calls, and interview some of the most intriguing guests you have ever heard. Just go to irnchat.com to chat and interact and listen live, or go to the Outlander Show archives here on InceptionRadioNetwork.com. Blasting off with some UFO reports. The first one is a black triangle sighting in Visalia, California. This is a UFO blast from the past. This happened March 15th, 2012. In brief, the witness states hang glider-like object quickly flew over. In more detail, the witness states, I was outside cleaning my pool filter, turned off, getting it ready for summer. It was a clear, dark night, almost a half moon or just after, with no traffic noise. I was looking up and thinking about pruning my palm tree and other trees to reduce leaves in the pool. Direction of focus was upwards for about 10 to 20 minutes while looking to the east over my house. I saw what was either a hang glider size at the smallest, if it was within 150 feet, or extremely large aircraft, if it was more than 500 feet, football field size or larger. Jet black, triangle, flying completely silent from east to west. It's hard to explain, but the visual cues were not normal. If it was low, some city street lights or building lights should have illuminated at least a little or reflected some kind of light. If it was that low, some kind of sound should have been heard. It cast a larger shadow over me and the white poolside concrete as it flew quickly over. I first thought it was a hang glider, but there was nothing hanging under it. It actually looked like a two-dimensional triangle the entire time. It looked like it was moving around 50 to 70 miles per hour if it were at 150 feet above me, or way too fast and too large for anything above 1,000 feet. It definitely was not a bird, a kite, a frisbee, or a drone. There was no color to it. I just saw the triangle-shaped absence of light between the stars and me. It moved at a constant horizontal speed and did not change direction until I could no longer see it. The only other thing, black, that I saw was when it flew over a brightly lit parking lot shopping center about 1,000 feet west-southwest of me. And it was a faint orange-amber reflection from the orange lights from the parking lot. That was kind of confusing because that would mean it was too low for an aircraft, and I should have been able to see at least some profile of the vertical axis. I still saw a 2D looking isosceles triangle, but no sound, other than like what you would hear if someone threw something close to you, like a quiet whoosh. If it was higher up, it would have been too massive to be anything like a normal aircraft, almost like an aircraft carrier or cruise ship size. Wow, that's a big mother. It would have also been moving past the speed of sound, going by air show experiences only, and no sonic boom or contrails behind it. There is no place even remotely close that someone could have jumped from a stationary object to hang glide over them. There is no one I've even heard of that has a hang glider within 50 miles either. The guest building is the hospital about 2 miles away at 5 stories. There were no aircraft, balloons anywhere in the sky that night, or for at least 10 to 20 minutes where I was looking up. There is Lemoore Naval Air Station about 30 to 40 miles to the west, but they usually never come to the east. There were no lights coming from it either. There are commercial jets that fly overhead at night, but usually always north to south or south to north, but they could not be mistaken for this object. To put it quite literally, it was like someone threw a black 20 to 30 foot paper airplane from the east. I love this analogy. And it flew just about 100 feet over my head without making any discernible sound other than air moving quietly by it. So to sum it up, nothing tall enough to glide from nearby. Drones were not popular yet for years after this time. Also, not personal drone shaped or sized. Clear and dark sky except the moon and stars, with no other aircraft, birds, kites, and a silent ambient environment. The only way to have better viewed would have to be through binoculars or a telescope. It looked like it was mostly two-dimensional, moving too fast if it was higher up, too quiet for the apparent closer distance, did not move or change shape with respect to appearance, excluding direction of travel, which was west to slightly southwest. It had no lights shining from it, and only a glint of city lights from the bottom. Traveled at 2 or 3 miles, or way more of it was at airplane height. I don't know what that means. I was not drinking. I love when people say that. Or doing anything under the influence of any drugs or alcohol, prescription medication, or diagnosed or not with any previous or current mental conditions or hallucinations. Oh, that's so important. I just happened to be looking up at the trees and sky on that night at the right time. I haven't seen anything like it before or after, and really wasn't all that exciting other than the missing obvious visual and audible sensory cues of distance and size. I don't think anyone would ever even notice it unless they were looking for it, or at least looking in the sky. I don't have the best vision, but it's definitely good enough to not need glasses at night or to drive, and my right eye suffered moderate trauma 25 years ago. Oh, we got confessions here. When I was 8, but my vision has adapted very well. The only problem I mildly have is objects like a baseball or smaller size object coming directly at my face or directly away. I gotta say something because a lot of people, they doubt their eyes all the time, and it's like they want to let you know their eyes are good enough. They drive. You got a driver's license? Those eyes are good. Okay, it's okay. You get back and forth generally without running anybody over. We're good. I believe you. Drugs and alcohol, if you were talking about possession, like by a demon, then that would be something I would draw into question. But even then, people had a couple drinks and then whatever, they can tell if they saw a UFO or not. And you are so right. I don't think if people are looking for this one, would they actually have spotted it. And I think that's, there's happenstance. UFO sightings all the time. Going out for a smoke, going to walk their dog, just happen to look up at their tree to prune it. And there you have it. These things sneak past us all the time, I think. And luckily, we got pruners in the evening. The next UFO sighting, this happened in Northridge on the 118 in California on January 5th, 2018. In brief, the witness states metallic sphere shape. In more detail, the witness states I was driving on the route 118, and right before I passed the Tampa exit, I just happened to notice something flying close together in formation with the sun reflecting off from it. I wasn't sure what to think. I just pulled out my phone and started recording. As I was recording and watching these objects, I realized that this was something I have never seen before. First, I noticed the reflection, and it was metallic-looking sphere shape. I was a little unsure about it, but after 5 minutes of thinking about what I saw, I was really excited. I was even more excited when I saw the video and seen that I caught it on video. These craft went over trees. Then I lost sight of where they were heading. All right, this next UFO sighting, this occurred in Richmond, British Columbia. This is a UFO blast from the past. This occurred July 27th, 2003. Disc-like reflective sun on top, curved bottom. In more detail, I was riding shotgun in my father's car. In the Middle Eastern sky, I saw some sort of object, disc-like, and just hovering. At first, I thought it was an airplane coming to the airport, as I live quite close to one. But this craft was too far south and had a curved bottom. I don't think it lasted more than a minute. I had to shield my eyes from the reflected sun. When I uncovered my eyes to perhaps get a second look, the reflection and whatever it was gone. My father didn't see it, as he was watching the road. I was inside a moving vehicle, so I couldn't get out to see if it had moved. This was my first UFO sighting. Any doubts of some other intelligence and other forms of it out there greater than our own was a thing of the past. I did draw on the computer what I saw, but it is on another computer, and I don't know how to send attachments. The other computer is not connected to the internet. What? Okay. It's so entertaining. All right. Ooh, we got another big old UFO blast from the past. Black Triangle sighting in Cardiff. This occurred July 15th, 1991. Black triangle with 3 lights silently passed overhead, similar to Corinne Sable's. 1 hour unaccounted for. Oh, we're talking about abduction, people. All right, in more detail, they state finished work and was going to a private party at a nearby public house. A friend was asked to go to his shared house by his landlord to pick up a box of wine. Oh, a box. I offered to go with him. I was looking at the crossword when my friend said something like, "What is that light in the sky?" I said, "Probably a plane." My friend said, "That's not a plane." Without looking up, I said, "Probably a helicopter then." My friend said, "That don't look like a helicopter." I'm a quit. I really am. At this point, I looked out and asked my friend what exactly he was looking at. He pointed towards the sky. Oh, it's a he. To his right and said, "That." We were approaching a roundabout and the car stopped. We both got out of the car. Another car was stopped on opposite side of the roundabout. The craft passed overhead silently. It disappeared behind some trees. I remember looking at the man on opposite side of roundabout and shrugged as if to say, "WTF?" The man shrugged. We got back in the car and went back to the public house. When we got back, everyone was asking where we had been. The journey to the house was 15 to 20 minutes, there and back, but we had been gone for nearly 1.5 hours. Oh boy. I thought the clocks had gone forward, so adjusted my watch accordingly and was late for work the next day. The clocks had not gone forward, yet my watch was an hour out. Subsequently, I woke one morning and my brother asked what time I got in the night before. I said that I hadn't gone out and had gone to bed early at about 10 p.m. My brother said, "You weren't in bed when I got home." As I sat up in bed, I felt a pulling of the hair on my chest. I looked down, and there was a substance like wallpaper paste, but much thicker. So thick that I had to shave the area to remove it. Ew, what is that? I also noticed a bald spot below my belly button and slightly to the right. To this day, no hair grows there, and it is as soft as a baby's bum. I have woken many times since with weird markings, series of dots in various places that I cannot explain. Some with the time on my Android tablet being out by an hour, even though it is on auto configuration as dictated by the web. I have remained quiet about these experiences for fear of being ridiculed. I have lost touch with my friend who was driving that night, but I'm sure he would give a similar account of that night's events. The craft was like a triangle, but the one corner was slightly off. I have no picture evidence as cell phones were not as prevalent as they are today. Ooh, sounds like you have had some alien intervention going on. That is horrifying. But you guys you hear how people get isolated because they are fearing of being ridiculed. It's sad. And here our Pentagon thought it was fun to keep that secret. Yeah, we know you've been doing it a lot longer than 5 years, buddies, but no laughing matter when people are being abducted and abused and confused, okay? And getting bald spots on their bodies. Not cool. Oh, look at this. Another UFO blast from the past. We're getting a lot of those, which I always find fascinating how long it took people to come forward. And they usually have like really thought about it and how to express themselves, and sometimes they write about it a little bit more detail. I do not edit this stuff. If the language is chopped, I'm reading it chopped, but doing my best to fix it and take out the swear words as we go along. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, so next UFO sighting, Boise, Idaho. May 31st, 1986. No UFO, just gray aliens at a childhood slumber party. Oh, they crashed the party, did they? Arrived when all girls were asleep and walked among us. Oh, that's just perverted right there. All right, more detail. I was approximately 6 years old and had gone to a friend's birthday slumber party. We're all tucked into our sleeping bags and chattering like girls do. There must have been about 10 or so of us. My friend's parents and younger brother were sleeping in their rooms down the hall. Our sleeping bags were located in the living room that looked onto the kitchen, and from the kitchen windows is where I noticed the bright light flash. All of the girls were asleep, and I had just remained awake enough to notice the light. Once my eyes adjusted, I saw 6 to 10 gray, alien-looking figures starting to walk into the room without any sound. I tried to pretend I was asleep as they moved between our sleeping bags. If they noticed me, they did not show it. In a flash of an eye, they were sucked back out the kitchen window and gone. Wow. I ran out of my sleeping bag and crawled into bed with Ashley's parents and spent the night there. Wow. I wish you could describe. What do you mean sucked back like a vacuum cleaner, or did they just go one after another? I don't know. Gosh, that's crazy. Did they levitate? I mean, was it a big old tornado suction? That'd be really, really neat to hear. All right, moving on. UFO sighting in Dallas, Texas. This happened January 14th, 2018. In brief, seen it flying, then hover, then let off a big bright light for maybe 10 seconds, then proceeded to continue to come my way, which is west. In more detail, oh, they put their phone number. We could call. My kids and I were on our balcony after watching the football game, and we noticed what we thought was a plane until we seen another object come from it and went left of the object. Then it stopped, then went right of the bright object. Then the bright object lit up in the clear, dark sky like the moon. Well, that's when the hairs on our bodies stood up as we could not believe what we were seeing. When the smaller object continued going south, as the bright object continued west, we all captured the events on our cell phones. Woo-wee. Okay. This next UFO sighting happened in Metier, Louisiana, January 15, 2018. Loud aircraft hovering above home, then passing. In more detail, witness states this morning around midnight, I awoke a few minutes before I heard an incredibly loud aircraft pass over my home. Well, how dare they? I live in what's considered Old Metrier, Louisiana, near the causeway, and that's quite a bit of noise outside, day and night. With the highway being so close, there's constantly the drone of cars and 18-wheelers passing. Not to mention, I also live about 15 minutes from the airport, so I'm used to hearing planes as well. Last night was different, though. I woke up a couple of minutes before it happened in a short coughing fit. It's flu season, and I'm getting over it now. Oh, lucky you. And laid in bed in silence with my dog before I heard what at first I thought was a helicopter approaching. I say it sounded like a helicopter because it was almost a pulsating whirring instead of a steady building of noise like an airplane. But my heart started to race because it seemed like it wasn't passing at all and instead was getting closer and louder until I certainly thought at the volume it was at, there's no way it couldn't be right above the neighborhood. I couldn't bring myself to look outside and see for fear of seeing anything other than a plane or helicopter. That's a suspicious feeling. And instead I lay there holding my breath, waiting for the noise to subside. After about 2 minutes or so, it did, but not without me trying to justify in my head what could have taken it so long, as any other aircraft takes only seconds to pass, no matter how close it sounds. I'd like to add that I also grew up on a military base, so I consider my ears incredibly accustomed to the noise of training exercises and transport at all times of the day, but I couldn't shake the feeling last night that this was something I have never heard here before. Trained ears. Love that. All right. Next UFO sighting. This happened in Mason, Ohio. This occurred July 8th, 2017. In brief, the witness states amazing bright green orb with incredible moments. I bet they mean movements. The story and how it appeared to me is just as amazing. In more detail, they state, at the time I was under what I call a voluntary psychosis. I believed in many charlatans and was pulled in Pleiadians pop culture and false channeling. Oh. I was told to look at the skies by them, and I would see a sign a few days later. So 3 days pass. I go to take out the trash on this night. I see the moon, and it was bright and beautiful. I decided to take a picture, and this green one appeared on my screen. This gives the word hypocrisy a new meaning because channeling is fake, as wrestling took 7. No? Huh? I don't get it. To figure that out. However, out of my own belief, this appeared to me. There's some other things about this happening that is essential, but that it is the gist of it. Okay, people, edit. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to just say edit. All right. This next UFO sighting, this occurred in Clarksville, Tennessee. This is a slight UFO blast from the past. This occurred March 15, 2014. There were around 30 to 50 of them, and you could see them from horizon to horizon. They made no sound whatsoever as they passed right over our heads, glowed orange-red with no blinking lights, and moved too slowly to be planes. Moved slow but steadily. In more detail, my wife and I are from Dixon, Tennessee. We were driving home from Clarksville one night on Highway 48 a few years ago and saw this. There were around 30 to 50 of them, and you could see them from horizon to horizon. They made no sound whatsoever. We first noticed them while driving, and they slowly flew in the sky. There were so many of them. They could be seen as far as you could see in each direction. They were not very high when passing directly over our heads, so if they made a noise at all, they would have heard them. They're an orange-red color, and if you zoom in on the video, you can see that they were round, classic disc shape. Sounds like the ones you see in Mexico. It was an extraordinary sight. There is a military base not too far from the sighting, maybe 50 miles at the most, so I'd really like to know if they were flying something that night. If they weren't, then these were, by very definition, UFOs. One video is what my wife took from inside the car, and the other is what I took once we stopped to look. These videos have been edited to fit the format necessary to send in the email. Thank you, and please let me know what you think of it. Well, all right. I have not seen the video myself, so I'll let you guys click on over and follow the link. My goodness. Well, let's move on over to a fascinating story, shall we? Let's see, what article do I have here to join us today? All right. This article is called Bigfoot Seen with its Child in Mill Spring, North Carolina. I like these types of stories. There is nothing special about me, the author writes. I am just an ordinary person who witnessed Bigfoot about a month ago from today. I don't see the date on this one. It was about midnight. My friend Bobby and I were walking back home from visiting another friend who lives in the same neighborhood. The neighborhood we live in is mostly backwoods, and the houses are pretty well far apart. Going the back way on the dirt road from her house to ours was a lot closer than taking the main road, so we walked with flashlights. When we approached a home, we turned off our flashlights so we wouldn't disturb anyone. As we walked past one neighbor's home, all her outside dogs started to bark, but as we walked on, they stopped barking. As we started up the hill approaching a light pole, we turned our lights out. At the same time, we both saw what looked like a Bigfoot creature. Bobby quickly squeezed my hand firmly, and we both stopped walking. This creature was walking up someone's driveway under a light pole. It looked to be about 7.5 feet tall, with brown hair all over. It walked almost slanted over, but upright. Its arms were long, like almost past its knees, and its fingers were curled under, almost like an ape. The creature took about 4 strides up the driveway, and at the top it turned around and headed back down where the trees and bushes hid it. But when it turned around, it had a young Bigfoot by its side, holding its hand. The little stinker probably would have got away otherwise. We just stood there in fear for a few moments and then started walking again. We both know what we saw. It is not made up. Well, I believe you. Wow, that is really cool. All right. We will head with a nice, inspiring paranormal story. How about that? I think I like these. All right. This story is called My Son Saw an Angel. My kids and I were sick one morning, and I was so scared. I got on my knees and prayed and kept calling the name of Jesus. All of a sudden, my 3-year-old son said, "Mama, why you keep calling him? There he goes right there," pointing up to the window. We all felt so much better. He said it was a lady standing there with one hand in the other. It was a great feeling to know someone was watching over us. That's fascinating. Oh, I like those stories. Aren't those cool? Well, I have to tell you guys, thank you so very much for tuning in to UFO Headline News with me, Heidi Hollis. Be sure to check out UFOHeadlineNews.com every single day. And tune into my weekly show, The Outlander, Fridays, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you have experienced something out of the ordinary and want some level-headed advice, or if you've seen a UFO and want to share, be sure to write me through my main website, HeidiHollis.com, or dustoutlander@gmail.com.